My name's Tony Cease. I'm a civil engineer and architect from Durham, North Carolina. I'm on the team that's been tasked with looking at Mountain Watch, which is a project located in Haywood County, just outside of Waynesville, in between Waynesville and Maggie Valley. In conjunction with looking at this specific project, we've also been asked to take a look at the resource assessment process that's been developed by the Haywood County Waterways Association. And that particular resource assessment process is basically a prototypical approach to evaluating things like soil conditions, steep slopes, geological conditions, drainage corridors, and the like, things that would be instrumental and informative for the planning process, but typically have not been well incorporated into development as we've seen it so far here in the mountain region. So our specific project site is about 270 acres, very representative of sites in the area, steep slopes, just upslope a little bit from previous suburban type development patterns that have already been completed. And the challenge that we have is looking for a better way of developing those areas that may be more sensitive ecologically or more sensitive in terms of slopes and the like. The resource assessment protocol that had already been developed and was provided to us when we arrived here was a great beginning at looking at basically a mapping of areas of suitability, suitable areas for development. So our task was to take that and make refinements or suggest refinements, suggest perhaps additional pieces of information that should be incorporated into the process with a focus on identifying sources of information and identifying a process that can be easily replicated. We've also looked at the specific property, the 270 acres, and taken a tour of that site with the landowner, with the developer, gotten feedback from them in terms of what would be a typical approach to developing a site like that. And again, that's very consistent with a typical approach that anyone would take here in inheriting or acquiring a tract of land like that. And we've developed a couple of levels of plan, 4 different versions basically. One would be just a conventional subdivision plan, what anyone would do, carving roads with a bulldozer and locating houses in the sites that seem most appropriate and most valuable. And then secondly, we looked at a plan that would be more of a conservation subdivision type plan. And in preparation for that, we also did a yield plan, which would be factored into the tax credit evaluation process if a developer was looking at a pure conservation development. And then finally, we looked at a more dense development pattern, almost what we've called an Appalachian hill town. And all 4 of those models are predicated on the resource assessment process that the Haywood Waterways Association has developed, and the refinements that we've suggested to that process.